Hey everyone, Melanie Muenchinger here, illustrator for Gina K Designs. Today I've got several projects to show you with my newest set from Gina K Designs, Open Book. And you might have seen some of these paper piecing ideas in a Facebook Live video that I did with Gina on the night of our release party, but I know not all my subscribers saw that, and I just wanted to give you a few more tips that I didn't have time to share and things that I thought up after we did that video. So we're going to be doing this several different ways. This open book stamp set has so much potential for stamped images or greetings, but you could also do your own drawings, anything from a magazine. And then the 4 examples that I'm showing today, this is about as cheap as paper piecing gets because I've got 4 different books that you can purchase from the Dollar Tree or any local dollar store. Obviously, you can use books that you already have on hand or more expensive ones, but why not start with really easy ones from the dollar store? In addition to the open book stamp set from Gina K Designs, you're going to need a MISTI for stamping this or the large 4x6 block, and then I've got some smaller blocks for stamping the smaller images. The ink that I'm using today, I'm using the Gina K Designs Jet Black Amalgam. I've got some scissors for cutting out my paper, some adhesive for adhering those to the mats, got my tidy towel just to keep all of my stamps clean. I recommend that you have a pen or a pencil for any writing that you're going to want to be doing on your word searches or crossword puzzles, or if you want to use some gel pens or markers just to add a little bit of color, and you can coordinate those with your cardstock bases. Going to be using a mat today of Gina K Pure Luxury White. This is 4 inches by 5 1/4, and it'll fit on an A2 size card base. I'm going to be showing, just for the sake of time, how you would piece it onto just this full image of the open book for the samples. The different books that I'm going to be using today to show you, I've got a crossword puzzle, a word find, a copy of the New Testament, and then I've also got a blank book here. So let's begin by showing just some of these different samples and what I would do, how I would recommend that you paper piece them. So first of all, I'm going to show a word search that I did. So I made this for my dad. Shout out to my dad. He's got a birthday coming up. So they have different themes here. So this one's selling points. It's all the things that you would maybe describe a classic car or something that you're selling. So you want to find the words first of all before you decide where you're going to stamp it to make sure that they're going to fit within that book. So there's a code key in the back so you can look it up and find all the words. That's just going to help you plan it out a little bit. Also, you might really enjoy doing word searches and crossword puzzles. So if you want to do all these first before you actually stamp it and cut it out to send it, then you kind of get a 2-for-1 that way. So you can also use the image sheet anytime you are trying to paper piece anything, not just this book, by laying it right over so you can see where your stamping is going to go and what's really the best part of that pattern or page to stamp. So I'm going to have it right about there. I really like it, trying to get it centered so that this line on either side is just going to look like a page, and then just below where that top line is, so the letters go to the top. But you might have it down at the bottom or in the middle, so that just depends on where all of your words are. So I just used all these fine liner pens in different colors. I thought that would be really festive. One other thing that I forgot to mention as a supply, you might want to use a craft knife or a hobby knife. This is the Tim Holtz one. And so I like to just use this blade on the side rather than tearing. And that's going to give me a nice clean cut. And then I have a little bit more room. Hang on, let me go to the top. In my margin, you'll see on my crossword puzzle page that I picked out that it tore a little bit. So I just have to get a little bit more creative with how I piece that. Okay, so we're going to do our stamping. I'm going to put this into the MISTI. So, and this will fit in the small one too, but the mini MISTI, but you have to do it sideways. So I'm using the larger MISTI here. So I want to put this just right about here. Okay. Press down. And I forgot to put down my magnets on the bottom, so let me do that real quick. Make sure it's still right where I want it. Let me pull it down just a little bit. And so you might want to I'm just going to reposition this again. So I'm going to put this in the top corner like that. Put my magnets down. Okay. All right, there we go. And you might see something else that I did differently besides just the circling. So I'll point that in a second, out in a second. All right. So I'm just going to ink this up. And normally I do my inking on the right-hand side, so I'm not stretching across my project, but that's just how I had it laid out. You can go either way. Press all over and pick it up. Okay, so now I'm going to cut this out, and I don't want to have any letters or circling on these pages underneath. So for this particular one, I'm going to cut right up to that top page so that it's cutting kind of like the wings of a bird. So you're getting just that gentle V opening up there. And then I'm going to cut off the side pages, and we're going to have those just on the stamped open book on our white cardstock. And I cut the white cardstock again just a little bit smaller so you can have a reveal of any color coordinating page that you want. And I'm not going to cut out every single one today, but as you can see, it goes quickly. It's a very basic shape. All right, so you could just lay that right down on here. Oh, and I forgot to mention my markers. I do have a couple Spectrum Noir markers here for just adding some shadow. So after adhering this, or you can do it before, I would just add just a little bit of shadow to those pages underneath and on the sides. And then you can also draw a shadow underneath this book. Very simple. So then we would just put this on, and then I would also go ahead and I would just do a shadow down the center where it folds. I showed before how you can do it with sponging, but I'm doing it right here with the marker. Okay, then what I wanted to do, so I have all the most fun words that I thought were most descriptive of my dad, but then in addition to that, what I decided to do to just pick out the DAD, so you could spell out somebody's name or put some other little hidden message in it, I just chose to use this little heart stamped in the red hot ink for the DAD. So you could add your name, you could just put in little hearts wherever. You could also, instead of circling, you could just highlight just to color the whole thing in, or to do every single letter with the hearts. So that could be really fun, doing them all in blue, all in red, all in green. Lots of possibilities with the crossword, or the word search, excuse me. So let's move on to the crossword now. So here is a crossword that I showed in the Facebook Live. This is for my son, William. Will, he goes by now that he's 14. So he just turned 14 a couple weeks ago. He also wanted me to give him a shout out to my subscribers to follow him on Instagram. So that's one thing he wanted for his birthday. So if you're interested in checking out his Instagram account, it's YoungWilbur7. That's his, Young Wilbur is his rapper name, he says. Okay. So anyway, what you want to do when you're using a crossword puzzle book, these don't have themes, or even if they do, it doesn't matter because you're not going to be using the clues unless you have somebody who is interested in crossword puzzles, and then you might want to go ahead and add this on the inside. So that would be kind of fun. But what you want to do more importantly than finding a theme is to find out how many numbers of letters there are in your particular words. So on this one, the longest one that I did was birthday, which is 8 letters. I chose to do for my friend's birthday today one where it goes all the way across. So happy birthday is going to be 13 letters. So I'm going to put that right across there. You want to go ahead and fill out what you want it to say. So for this particular one, I'm going to make one for my stepfather. His name is Paul. So you can put the P-A-U-L right here. And then you could spell out maybe love right here. And then your name. So, and I'm just going to put Mel on here because it's not going to fit actually. my whole name. Okay, so then what we're going to do, again, we're just going to find where we want this to fall. So I'm just going to place this, again, I'm trying to center it in between those bold lines on either side. And I like to have it so you can see the numbers across the top, just above. So I'm going to put this down and close the door, ink it up, and you can see I'm going across two sides of it here. Shouldn't have anything underneath this. I'm kind of running out of room on my desk. I reorganized, so I like it better, but it does leave me a little bit less room to stamp. I don't have to get up to find things. Okay, but it gives me less room. All right, so there is my book, and once again, I would just take that marker and I would just shade down the middle with the gray. Oops, sorry about that. That's my stamp pad holder. And I don't mind that the letter is right in the middle, but if you wanted to do your writing after you do your stamping, then you could go around it, okay? So then what I thought would be really cute is just to add some little hearts here. So take any color you want. I think I'm gonna use, let's see, I think I'm gonna use Blue Lagoon on this. And I think I'm also gonna use, let's see, Red Velvet, okay. So I want to do some stamping here with this little heart. So the little heart I found is the exact same width as the squares in your standard crossword puzzle. So I'm just stamping off here, and that's giving me several different shades, creating a gradient or an ombre effect with the heart. So you don't have to fill in every single one. You can just do it in spots, but I think this is just a fun way to add some color to the crossword. And then what I want to do with this red, I just wanted to make just a few spaces and letters stand out. So I'm going to do it over the O and love, and then I'm just going to put them in just a couple other little places, just so that it'll bounce around the card. Okay, and then you would just cut that out and then layer it onto your book. And so for this one, the one that I showed before, I cut the crossword puzzle and the word search a little bit smaller just so that you don't have the fat spine of the book. And when you do that, you just cut along one of the pages. You can see that you can also do it in a portrait style layout by cutting off the edge of the page, but it's obviously still very much a book. Okay, so that is my crossword sample, and I'll just cut along just the bottom of this so that you can see just along here, and then you would just layer this onto there again. Okay, all right. So that's with the crossword puzzle. Now let's move on to this blank book. So some of the blank books that you'll find are just going to have clean white pages or another color, and some of them are going to have these lines on them for journaling. So what I'm going to do here is I took a page out of the book already. This had a spiral binding. You can get 2 out of each page. So there's just the flower border on one side, but you can do it actually either way so that you have it on the left or the right, or you can turn it over and do this side if you want to do both. But if you notice, this stamp, the dimensions of it here are about 4 inches by 3 inches, and that's going to work perfectly in your paperback books. So I'm going to put this here just right in the corner. You see I already stamped one here at the bottom, and if it goes over that binding, remember we're going to cut to this inside page here so that we're just seeing the top, so that's okay, don't worry about that. Okay, so I'm going to just put this down like that, close, ink it up. And these go so quickly. It's a really fun image to paper piece because you don't have all those little areas for fussy cutting. And it's just such a great look at the end. Okay. Oh, and I got a little hair from my stamp on there, or rather from my ink pad on there. Let's just press that again. Okay. And so then you would just cut this off, just again, right to this edge. And if you want, if you like the creamier colored pages, you could actually go all the way down to the edge like that. So there's a lot of different ways that you could do that. All right, so now, and then what I did on the one, and I sent this card to Gina, so I don't have it to show you the original one from my Facebook Live video, but you can stamp the little hello there. Got stuff everywhere, doing 4 projects in one. Am I crazy? I asked everybody what they wanted and they said more. So today it's just a little bit longer video with more samples. So right there. And you could do the whole quote if you wanted, the one about time spent with books is never wasted, or another. Okay. So this is one more example that you can do. And finally, I want to show one with the New Testament. So this copy is just the New Testament here. I would not feel good about cutting up a Bible that I use for church or Bible study, but this is $1. It's on just plain newsprint, and I think it justifies cutting it up if you're going to send this out as encouragement to somebody. So I went to Philippians, and this has one of my Bible study mentors' favorite verses in it, the be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving let your requests be made known unto God, and the peace of God which passes all understanding shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. So for this one, I really like to do this Bible stamp where you can see the scripture reference at the top, and you can also see the page number like you would in a book. So this one I want to position just right about here, but obviously if your quote is further down, you can do it down here or anywhere in between. If you're wanting to do something just more as a collage with a printed page from a book, then don't worry about trying to get it centered, because it's really just about getting that script in the back. One other thing that I really liked about this New Testament one that I found at the Dollar Tree, that it has this column in the middle, and it perfectly lines up with that center spine of the open book. Okay, so I'm going to put these just down right here. And if you're ever, I'm good at memorizing scripture, but I'm not good necessarily at remembering the exact verse. Remember the chapter, but not necessarily the verse. That's something that I love using Google for. If you know even a few words of the Bible verse, it will instantly pop up, and then it's really easy to find. Okay. All right, so I'm going to just stamp this. And open that up. Okay. And I thought of a fun idea for this. So on this one, I did the glasses and the flowers right over it, and I just let those words show through. There are special highlighters for when you're using Bibles that don't go through, but since you're tearing the page out, it doesn't really matter. But if you want to do your stamping or your coloring while it's still in the book, then I just recommend putting a piece of paper or something underneath so it's not bleeding onto those other pages that you want to be piecing with later. But basically just find a marker or a pencil that is going to match that card base so that you can have them coordinate. But I wanted to use another one of those images in my set. So I found that the rectangle of this bookmark works really well for going around different verses. And you can turn it either this way or this way. There's that little hole, so just kind of depending on where it fits on here. And you can have that going up or down. Okay, so I'm going to put it right there. And I think she'll be so tickled seeing this, because she quotes this verse to us all the time. It really covers so many situations. It's a good one. Okay, so just ink this up. And then you could just color this in, and that's like your highlighter. Okay, just like that. So I'm going to actually use, let's see, I'm going to gonna do this yellow, I think. So this is just a highlighter that I have for Bible study. And then I'm going to take just this red pen. I'm going to go in and color that. Okay, so I love that idea. And then you can add the hearts, the pen, whatever you want. Let me show you the finished card that I did for another friend of mine, Ramona. It's her birthday tomorrow. And I know I'm going to do with another, I need to make one for Vanessa also. It's her birthday today. So another shout out to Vanessa. So the one that I was going to piece on here, let me show you just adding this pen. And you could paper piece the pen. That's another nice stamping opportunity, paper piecing opportunity. And just put this right on here. So I always like to have a pen or a pencil or just some little accessory. And that's kind of like your bling for these cards. And don't forget to add the shadow underneath, and it's just going to be the same width and color as the shadow you have under this book. Okay, and then I'm going to take this IB3 marker here, and I'm not coloring the top because it's just going to have a little bit of a highlight on it there. And then I'm just going to go over it again. You can build color with just one marker to make the bottom darker. And then just a little bit of this gray right here and here for the silver. And it's really quick. One other thing that I might recommend that I haven't actually tried myself, but if you have a favorite, let's say children's book with wonderful illustrations in it, or you have a book for a book lover, let's say Alice in Wonderland is their favorite, you could take that book, scan it, print it out, and then do your piecing from it, from that favorite verse or part of the chapter that really connects with them or with you, and then you're not destroying your book. So that's a really great way to customize this. Please leave comments about which of these paper piecing tips is your favorite. I hope you got lots of ideas for how to piece this book. Please visit my blog, Hands, Head, and Heart, for more ideas and inspiration using all of my stamp sets, and at Gina K Designs and Stamp TV. Thank you for watching today. God bless.